Welcome to a fine gaming experience, everyone. Bricks here with the usual co-host.
Hey, I'm excited for this one. Really excited. I know I say that a lot, but this is one of the hardest and most interesting fights in the game. I can't wait to see how you handle it.
I actually did a lot of practicing there with the bowgun and thought I'd give us a worthy challenge.
And wake us up with nightmares with your fat, armored, mismatched, pants-wearing cat thing.
The frogs are very happy.
The exploding frogs?
And the other ones are hanging out with Loki, so... And I feed them, see? I'm a kind and generous host.
Those things are basically tantamount to, like, scavengers, are they not? So I know there's some animal death. There's some monsters eating each other in this room. I almost guarantee it. You come home, you have to replace them with something else. We'll know if we start up another video and there's absolutely just nothing in there, that everything ate everything else or exploded.
Never did see my geckos in there, so it's possible they ate them.
Actually, where are your geckos?
They're D-gecko.
Now that's an interesting fight. It's two monsters you would normally find in that area, but it's a pain in the butt. I actually remember when I was first learning this game, that fight tripped me up a lot because they like to intrude on each other's spaces too.
This is a new option we have, full armor sets. And this set here has become iconic.
You need to change that guitar out though.
Well, that's the weird part. It is a full set, but the weapon is in the basic equipment for some reason.
And I believe there's some special properties of the weapon. I believe it can do like a charge-up shot. I don't think it does much more damage. It is actually a really terrible weapon. It does almost no damage, and it has no real special effects on it, but who cares? You are Mega Man.
Exactly. And really, the best part is he gets full-on Mega Man sound effects while running around now.
Mm-hmm.
Although he'll still do stuff like that and try to eat meat. Or a sausage at the end. That's iconic, too.
Yeah, there's a lot of crossovers with other Capcom games. There's a Street Fighter crossover. There's a Devil May Cry crossover. I don't think there's been a Resident Evil crossover, at least not in America, but I feel like there was something in Japan. I might be wrong about that.
There is armor for it in the game, I believe. But time to take on a notorious beastie.
And this is not usually how you'll ever find Basil. You really won't find him in this format. Usually you're going to find him intruding on your other hunts.
And realistically, I could have done that, and that's how I start off this, is trying to piss off other creatures to get his attention. Because he loves interfering. It is what Basil does.
And Basil has some interesting names. He is lovingly known as the community as Beetlejuice. Some people call him Beetlejuice. Other people like to call him B-52. And that name will become very apparent when we start fighting him.
It's a very interesting creature for his effects, too, because he's kind of like a flying version of, well, this guy. A lot of explosive attacks, a lot of quick, interesting ones, but this kind of annoys me. I'm going to paralyze him. He's right in the cloud as he's digging into a new area.
Well, that's not how that works.
But that little bit was enough of a piss-off to get Basil's attention.
He's so cool looking, especially when you first see him. With the right weapons, he's not a terribly challenging monster once you learn his patterns. But as I said before, as a melee character, you will suffer. You need evasion or good, decent defense, and I actually suggest evasion over shields in this case, because a lot of his attacks can get behind you, and you might not even notice it.
We've kind of talked about the rock, paper, scissors of some weapons against certain monsters. I want to say the light bowgun is probably the best weapon you can use against this monster.
I would argue that it's the bow, simply because he's so long and the piercing shots can be disgusting. But light bowgun has so many nice defensive advantages for it in its movement style.
The heavy would have been nice as well in some ways. You can do a lot of damage very quick. I keep on trying to do the mount attack here, but he will not let me. The mount attack for this one's pretty cool. You basically fire your explosive into him point blank, kick off, and then shoot into it.
So if you notice his bottom side under his neck and along his tail, he has these little pods, and those pods are explosive. Half his attacks that will actually detonate those pods, and the other half drops more. You can see he sort of drags himself along the ground, so being under him is a bad idea. You want to stay back and plan your attacks out, because all of those attacks can hit you from every angle, and multiple can hit you at once, including the actual triggering attack.
You can do a lot of damage with them too, because you'll take the damage from the physical attack and then the explosions. And here's the B-52 bomber attack.
The nice thing about this is he does 2 to 3 passes overhead, so if you time a flash pod, you'll knock him down. Unfortunately, once he starts his dive, he cannot be flash pod, so you have to get him on the watch that first pass, then plan your trajectory to make sure the pod's in front of his face for the second, and almost always you'll knock him down. But here's where he's truly dangerous.
This is basically his fury mode, and instead of dropping uncharged pods, they're primed, ready to explode as soon as he lands them.
Keep in mind, your attacks can actually light those pods up too, as can other monsters.
I do find, though, this mode is kind of like playing Contra almost. Just aim for the giant glowing weak point and shoot away.
Yeah. He actually has a lot of weak points. Beetlejuice is nice in the fact that there aren't a lot of parts of him that are immune, and he doesn't have high defense. So his head takes a ton, his tail takes a ton, his tail can be cut off pretty easily. You can easily break parts off him. His difficulty is just the outright violence of his attacks and the directions they hit from.
I am pretty lucky with a lot of these attacks. Like I said, this is, I don't want to say easy mode, but definitely the best weapon to use against him for staying at range. Trying to do, picture like me doing my hammer swings point blank here, trying to find the right opportunity.
Yeah, some of the worst weapons to fight him with are ones that have long charge ups or are rather slow. Lance, because it does lock you in position, it's very hard to guard against him with lance attacks. And Greatsword is another one that if you're not planning your charge attacks at the right time, unfortunately your block, your shoulder check, will just knock you flat on your butt because you're going to block the first hit and then get blown up by the next.
That fire breath he doesn't do too often, but if he's set down a lot of his bombs, it can be quite scary. I do try to use his aggression against him, though, with all the bombs I'm setting down. Of course, he left right as I put that one.
And he is a bit of a coward. He will leave partway through the fight. And very often, you're going to have the advantage against him, and he's going to take off and run away. If you time it, though, you can flash pot him out of the air.
A lot of creatures are very susceptible to flash pods if they're flyers. And this guy is no exception to that one. If anything, he flies so much, you know they'll be useful. I love my sticky ammo, and it works quite nice for shocking him like you would use a blunt weapon.
He does tire himself out a lot here. You'll watch. He's going to crash down to the ground and just lay there.
I find one of the more dangerous moves he has is his quick shoulder charge. It's not one you'll often expect, but taking him on from the side, near the head or tail, is probably your best angle of attack.
I saw you getting bowled over there. You will notice he is immune to his own explosions. That is, that's a pain.
But that's kind of how he fights, is just creating a huge area denial and surprising you with it.
That was an excellent knockdown. He wasn't even looking because he knew what direction he went. Perfect shot there.
I really should have put on the spread shot pants. That would have been really nice for this fight.
I will say it was actually really a good testament to how important range is. That first spread shot did a lot. That second one that I think did all ones.
Being in the sweet spot for your spread shot is almost necessary.
Generally, that's going to be right in front of their faces.
Yeah. Some creatures are really good for getting stunned out of their big attacks. And using your bombs on the ground like that to knock them out of their charges like this is really good against Bazel. You were saying the pierce shots are really good against him with the bow, but I find he rotates and moves around so much, it can be hard to get that good lined up shot.
It absolutely can, but one of the nice things about him is you can shoot him front to back to front, or left to right through the wings, and no matter how you hit him, you're going to do some amount of damage. It's that perfect shot straight through that you want.
Yeah. Getting very lucky for not being in those huge attacks as he does them. Using bow would have been an interesting option, but heavy bowgun would have left me a little too much in place, or hoping on a good guard.
Mm-hmm. And as guard weapons go, unfortunately, he can just get behind you. I have actually a very deep memory of when I was originally playing with my lance, and I fought Bazel, and he got behind me almost every time I was blocking. At that point in time, I was like, okay, I need to try another weapon. And that was actually the first time in the game I changed from that weapon to another, which, as Bricks can tell you, is rare for me because I like experimenting and trying out all the different weapons.
Off he goes again. But there's Mega Man doing the E-Tank recharge sound effect.
This game is ridiculous.
If you hear, too, he does the Mega Man walk sound effect, even when he's running as a cat there.
Mega Man loping is a little bit of a weird thing to see.
Eating the sausage is still the best.
Good job there.
I'm a little shocked that one connected. And that one.
Now, you're kind of styling on him here. You definitely know what you're doing in this fight. It won't go this easily for most people. It's a very difficult fight. But you can learn a lot from the way Bricks is playing here. Lots of movement, taking your spots, and being somewhat aggressive.
It's interesting how aggressive monsters can be countered by being more aggressive than them. Just use their aggression to reduce their stamina. A few attacks to the head will reduce it even more. And I'm letting my Palico doing all the healing for me too, which is letting me keep up on the aggression too.
Shoulder tackling with a greatsword into Diablos was one of the first times in the game I really clued into that fact, that aggression is sometimes the best way to go against aggressive monsters. If you can time your hits, you knock them flat on their butts and break their parts.
Kind of lucky here too, where he hasn't interfered with too many other creatures. Normally when you're fighting him, he will get tired of fighting you and then go find another creature for you to have trouble with. Dodo's kind of being uninterested, it seems, almost.
Yeah, Dodo Gama's not really a tried and true fighter. Dodo's just there for the fun rolls. Sometimes he'll do this thing where he flies really low like this, too. And you're trying to get your flash plots in time. And
I don't. Like Ice was saying, though, when he's doing that diving attack, he is completely immune to the flash, so don't waste your pods like I do.
He also has one of the strongest roars in the early game, will very often end up paralyzing you.
That's a move he likes doing too when he's really mad, is just jumping up in the air, dropping a bunch of bombs, and stomping on them. I do find having his tail as a weak point is really nice. It lets you attack him from either end. The tail's a little safer, but he still has a lot of tail swipe moves.
Man, he is hurt now.
I kind of wish I had slicing ammo to cut off his tail. That helps so much.
It does. I believe it cuts down the number of pods that he's got overall to drop on you, and it makes shooting the tail a very safe spot to be. Man, every time you put down one of those charges, he just goes, yeah, I'm not interested, bye.
And it's so annoying because it takes so long to recharge versus running to the next area to meet him. I'm so mad I kicked that toad.
Yet you keep them in your room.
Well, that's why I keep them in my room? For animal abuse?
You have problems. I mean, technically, you were doing horrible things to animals all the time as a monster hunter.
Oh, that's interesting. Some question marks there on the ground. I wonder what that could be for.
You saw him just making more flash flies there.
Or the flash pods.
Oh, yes. Flash flies are the ones on the map.
There's that straight-on shot you want for the most part. But something very, very interesting is about to happen here. Using those bomb pods against his own attacks is so efficient. Even though he kind of uses blast, he's kind of weak against explosions too.
Which is strange. I don't know why his explosions are so different than every other one, but apparently they are. Love that slide.
And it just saved my butt from his attack.
Woof.
Do you hear that?
I do, yes. Oh boy. This is one of the monsters that was added later on after the game was released. They added it via a patch, and it is vicious.
As much as Basil is infamous for interfering, Devil Ho even more so.
Which is why they hate each other. I love that they put it in turf war for them, because they both kind of represent the same, I just want to fight the biggest things. Though I will say Devil Ho's more of a, I want to fight because I'm the best, and Beetlejuice is just kind of a jerk, because he leaves quickly.
Yeah. But that was enough. I kind of like how he showed up just to weaken him enough for us to capture.
Now, that was not at all how I thought that fight would go. I thought you would have a lot more difficulty, but no. I mean, the ranged weapons help, but also the light bowgun is an excellent weapon. Highly recommended for this kind of fight.
It was Mega Man. He did all the work.
With the Buster?
Yes.
Okay.
He was using, the right weaknesses against the right creature, and it worked. This was Basil Man.
Speaking of Beetlejuice and B-52, he's actually got quite a list of weaknesses. He's got a lot of ways you can deal with him. I believe he is extremely weak to thunder damage. I believe that's the one thing he's 3 stars weak against.
If nothing else, it's fun to just paralyze him out of the air.
Oh, yeah.
And that was not a small one either. That was a pretty decent size, so...
Oh, Pookie.
His little pumpkin Pookie.
We have some business to do now.
Well, this was something I was asked to do, so... Here's my reward. Just a buttload of points.
Which, I mean, that's no small amount. No small amount at all. And here's something special. This blue quest, the blue exclamation mark, actually means a quest that was added on later in the game. So, like I said, patch-related quests are going to have this blue exclamation mark, and it's just denoting that, yeah, this is new content. You should probably check this out.
I could have saved this for later, but I figured we just saw him. We might as well do the whole news bit on him.
Mm-hmm. He's got a lot of interesting mechanics. He's a very powerful monster, and he's extremely powerful. I actually find he fights kind of like a bigger Anjanath, and including the same problems that the head is really high up and the tail is really high up.
The aggression he has will be quite something to see, but unfortunately, this is the first part of the quest. You have to do this and then go around gathering footprints and tracks until you can do the actual quest.
Mm-hmm.
So as you can tell, I was probably quite annoyed losing all that work I had done previously when I had set up this quest.
The thing that really bothers me about the gathering quests overall, where you have to gather footprints and stuff, is they put them in the game specifically for players who don't do a lot of expeditions, who don't fight a lot of extra monsters. And unfortunately, that kind of thing, I feel like in this kind of game shouldn't have been enforced. Because really, it builds bad habits. It's like, oh, okay, I have to go get these items. I have to go get this. When you should always be going out, doing expeditions, filling up your coffers, getting lots of different items.
And realistically, too, that interferes in multiplayer games. When we're playing two-player, we have to both go around, get all those tracks before we can go and fight the monster.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a lot of cutscene that's have interfered with us doing runs.
Yeah, the first time you're playing this game and you're playing with friends, the biggest problem is anytime you haven't seen the introductory cutscene for a monster, you cannot play with other players. So if you haven't seen the monster yet, the best thing you can do is go into the quests separately, see the cutscene, and then one of you can leave and join the other before too much damage is dealt.
Speaking of seeing new things, our little bat cloak.
Yeah, and the Barnos armor, or the Barnos jacket, has a very interesting skill on it. I don't know if you're going to show it, but it actually gives you a skill that I believe makes you immune to heat. It's kind of like having a cool drink permanently put on top of you. Yeah, heat guard.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very handy skill.
Iron Skin is much less useful. It saves you from getting your defense down, and not much in the game does it. But the Barnoses do it with their basic attack, so I can see why they slapped it in.
You're usually better off just making this version of it for the free slot.
This feels like something out of Dark Souls.
It does. It's very much similar to the Onion Knight armor with that big barrel chest there. Ugh.
That green color you love so much.
Why? I mean, it is an oxidization of metals. I understand that why it looks like that. And some of the metal sets look pretty cool, but I'm a big fan of that shiny metal.
I do not understand why she got thunder thighs from this armor set, though.
Because she needed a slim tummy. And everybody likes thick thighs. Thick thighs save lives.
And this one saves your life as well with its high defense and recovery skills on it.
Yeah, it is a very defensive set. It has an odd mix of skills, but it's very similar to a lot of the other high defensive sets we've seen.
I find a lot of the different metal types, we're going to see another one right after this, tend to be omni-elemental sets, and this one is very ice-based. The next one we'll see is very thunder-based.
Earplugs is nice. It does have earplugs, which is a really nice skill. I actually like the ingot set. I actually, those of you who are Dark Souls fans, it looks a lot like the brass armor set or the embraced armor set that you get from a certain NPC in that game. But I actually really like kind of the battle kilt, because it's really interesting that it's cloth and then there's these like metal plates just sitting down on the bottom. It's a really unique design.
Kind of a good way to add on the extra defense as well.
This doesn't count as a battle ball gown. It's just a battle skirt.
She's a battle princess.
Battle Princess. Again, I love the design. I actually really like it when they have the male and female designs similar to each other. I know that sometimes you'll pick an armor set for your male characters and be like, oh, wow, that looks so awesome. And then you'll pick it for the female characters and go, why is it a battle bikini? It's just how the designers do it sometimes. And I'm hoping we get more unisex sets as the games come out, because if I want to have my guy dressed up in something ridiculous and scantily clad so I can make all my friends laugh in multiplayer, and if we want to see women dressed up in full ridiculous plate, why not just let it flow?
It's usually just our palicos we dress up in silly outfits when we're playing.
I don't know. I run around with the Wiggler head for a very long time, and you're currently a cat. I love the Brigade set. I actually think it's a super cool set. If those of you who know Final Fantasy and know what a red mage is, it always reminds me of that, especially the hat with the feather in it. Very bard-like. And it's called the Brigade set because it's supposed to represent our actually base here at Astera.
If you look on the shoulder pads as well there, we have a lot of plates and symbols that represent the guild on it.
And I don't get why this one is so different. It is a cute dress, but I have no idea why it is like almost 100% different and looks like a stewardess set.
And I've mentioned it before, I don't like the stewardess sets. I don't know why there's so many.
Somebody at Capcom has a fetish, and this is how they're showing it.
And the skills on it are interesting. Scholar, Geologist, a couple of the other ones you'll use now and then, but
It's an exploration set.
yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with having an exploration set for just going around gathering plants and stuff like that. It's actually useful to have that.
And it's fairly defensive with its recovery and divine blessing as well, so you're fairly safe going around. The heavy artillery is an odd one to slap in there, but
I actually do want to talk about the arena coins there, because I don't know if we've mentioned them before. If you notice, this set is actually made with coins from the arena, and when you go upstairs to the Gathering Hub, you'll have these arena quests to fight specific monsters, and when you beat them, you'll get a certain number of sort of the rank that you're at for arena coins, and then certain coins based on that monster. There are a ton of really, really good weapons and some decent armor you can get through arena coins, so don't sleep on that. The only problem with arenas is you don't go in with your gear. You go in with a set that is well composed and items that are well composed for that. You don't need to eat before the fight, and you are timed based on your performance. As far as I know, getting a higher rank, killing your monsters faster, doesn't actually grant you any higher chance of getting better rewards for the quest, but it can unlock special accessories and stuff like that for getting enough like A ranks and B ranks.
which are very nice to get. And some of those weapons, like you said, are amazing.
I actually want to point out something about the Bazel set here. The coil is amazingly good.
The overall skill is what's the really good one, though. Guts is such a lifesaver, literally.
And it happens quite often. I want to say 50% of the time, but I've had it trigger quite a bit.
Basically getting a free life almost out of it is very useful against some of the meaner creatures we're about to come up against, and some of their attacks will be nearly unavoidable.
Mm-hmm. The earplugs on this, if you notice, the headpiece had earplugs and the belt had earplugs, and then the armor itself has Guard Plus as well on it, so you're getting a good set that's somewhat defensive.
It's really good for taking on Bazel, too. It's one of those odd sets that will help you fight the original creature again.
I like the Roman Legionnaire style here.
The giant mace he gets as well. It's not a bad weapon at all, either. It's got 300 fire there.
Yeah, and that's so much higher than most of the other options you may have.
Make him more of a cat.
The Lion's Mane.
The giant pulsing weapon, which is basically like he's holding one of the bombs as a weapon. I don't know if you want to be smacking things with that.
It does have blast damage on it, which is one of the rare weapons at this point in the game that does have blast. Basically, when you get Dodogama and Bazelgeuse, those are the ones where you're going to be getting at least a few more blast element weapons. I do recommend blast. It's a great element. It builds up and does a good amount of damage, and it's just not something that's... The best way to put it is it's not something that's just sort of this boring tie-in. It explodes, so it's very, very cinematic. And most of the status ailments just kind of have like a little cloud on the enemy. And this one, you know, you get a reward. I like the explosions. Big fan.
Speaking of rewards, because we took on Basil, we've mentioned it before, there is a better version of the charms, the Talons.
And the nice thing about these is they actually stack with the earlier versions. So you can go and buy yourself a normal armor and power charm and have all 4 of those in your inventory for a much more significant boost.
And next time we'll be switching over to the heavy bowgun.
One of your favorite weapons.
And the last one to try out.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope you join me for that, and take care all.